I'm going to be discussing major plot points of this film, so I strongly recommend you watch it before continuing.
معادل فارسی کلمات زیر را بنویسید. ماکت،
نمونک،
کمپوت،
خوشاب،
گارانتی
تضمین، ضمانت.
که عربیه، معادل فارسی.
خانم گفته.
دیگه این جمله رو به من نگی ها. چیزی که غلطه. هر کی میخواد بگه هر جام نوشته باشم.
I think it was Bernard Shaw who once said, "No conflict, no drama." A good writer knows how to find and escalate conflict in their story, but a great writer knows how to create conflict from within the characters and reflect them in relation to other characters and the plot, how to develop external conflicts from internal ones. A great example of this is the Iranian film A Separation by Asghar Farhadi, a masterclass on how character and plot are not separate elements, but instead are essential parts of the same organism in any great story. In this video, I would like to invite you to take a closer look into Asghar Farhadi's masterful writing skills and to try and understand how the many conflicts in this story always come from within the characters to move the story forward and not the other way around. The movie begins with a subjective shot of Simin and Nader as they sit side by side facing the camera. The goal is obviously to put the audience in the role of the judge. The characters are looking at and speaking directly to us, forcing us to actively listen and consider their arguments. From the start, we are invited to try and decide who's right and who's wrong. The conflict is very quickly established between the two of them. Simin wants to travel abroad and take her daughter Tenmei with her, but according to Iranian law, she cannot leave the country without the permission of her husband, Nader. So she wants to file for divorce, which she also cannot and will not have without his permission. According to Nader, he cannot leave because he needs to take care of his father, who suffers from Alzheimer's. In Creating Character Arcs Workbook, author K.M. Weiland explains, the external plot/conflict exists to provide a dramatic visual metaphor for the character's inner conflict. The story's inner and outer conflicts must mutually drive one another, pushing and pulling in the perfect symmetry of a piston pumping back and forth. Nader is attached to his father, to his family, to his way of life. He wants things to remain as they are, and that manifests in his refusal to leave the country and to allow his daughter to leave as well. Simin wants to change. She's not happy with her current predicament. Case in point, her limited rights as a woman.
ایشون که این وضعیت رو نداره. من الان تکلیفم چی میشه حاج آقا؟
هیچی. بفهمه سر زندگیتون.
So she wants her daughter to not grow up under the same circumstances.
نمیای؟
And that manifests in her desire to live abroad. Their desires are mutually exclusive. One cannot gain what they want without the other losing. Farhadi carefully gives both characters equal weight on their claims, as he does so for every character in this story. He knows that the key to empathizing with a character is to understand their reasons and motivations. Simin and Nader do not hate one another. Simin acknowledges Nader is a decent man. She's willing to give up the divorce if he comes with her. Nader is a caring and loving father who teaches Tenmei, among other things, how to stand up for herself and be more independent. Their internal conflicts are fundamentally opposite and represent two sides of a dilemma. Should the past be sacrificed in favor of the future? Should tradition, represented by the ailing father, be left behind in favor of a prospect of a change for the better? As other characters are introduced, so are their internal conflicts in opposition to everyone else in the story. Because Nader won't agree to leave, he needs someone to take care of his father while he is at work and hires Reverie, a pregnant woman from a much modest family who can't afford daycare and brings her small daughter to work. Reverie is a devout woman, so taking care of the father presents a conflict with her religious beliefs.
میخواستم ببینم اگه من خودم عوضش کنم گناه نیست.
Razier's husband, Hojat, is unemployed and owes money, which can land him in jail, but he is also proud and hot-tempered, which causes a moral conflict when she decides to keep her employment a secret from him. When the father slips out of the apartment, Razier has to frantically run for his rescue, and so, to avoid a recurrence, She decides to tie the old man by the bed and lock him inside the house when she has to leave for mysterious reasons, which in turn causes a conflict with Nader when he comes home to his ailing father. After a heated confrontation when Nader also accuses her of stealing money,
من رفتم از تو کشوی اتاق شما پول بر.
he pushes Razier out of the house and she's found falling on the stairs. Later we find out that Razier suffered a miscarriage and she accuses Nader of causing it, which in Iran means being charged with murder and sentenced to jail if it's proven that Nader knew she was pregnant.
اگه ثابت بشه که شما میدونستی ایشون بار داره تو دادگاه از 1 تا 3 سال برات حبس می‌بود.
He denies it and that causes a conflict between him and Hojat. The tension between these conflicts is directly related to the characters' personalities and to how much they believe in what they're doing. In The Anatomy of a Story, author John Truby explains, in most real conflict, there is no clear sense of good and evil, right and wrong. In a well-drawn story, both hero and opponent believe that they have chosen the correct path, and both have reasons for believing so. Farhadi establishes each one of his characters and makes their values as distinct as possible, while maintaining a common thread between them. They all strongly believe that they are justified in their actions and argue the best of their abilities in order to hold on to that belief. But if every character believes that they are right, how does the story move forward? Before starting to make movies, Asghar Farhadi was already a successful playwright in Iran, and the structure of his stories and his visual style is indicative of this theater formation. He usually writes about human drama within immediate family members and married couples. His settings are never vast and sprawling, but rather quite contained, like the inside of houses and apartments. Like any great playwright, Farhadi is used to creating his pieces from the initial premise that it is the audience who chooses what to look at and decide what to take in from the character's words and actions, and so his method is to consistently trust in the audience's intelligence. There is barely any detail shot in its separation. However, every minute detail is as important to the plot as any major event. The camera is mostly at a distance, allowing the viewer to observe the characters in relation to their space. According to Farhadi's logic, the audience will figure things out by themselves, and it's much more dramatically powerful if they do so than if you show it to them. That's why to Farhadi, what happens between the lines is just as important as the lines themselves, because it is between the lines where the truth of the conflict resides. In his scripts, what the characters do not know creates as much conflict and has as much consequence as what they do know. As often as details are shown, they are also omitted from the story, sometimes with the use of clever editing, and that technique recreates for the audience what the characters feel when they start doubting the righteousness of their actions. Your opinions might change depending on the number of facts you have. This is the aspect of real life that Farhadi pursues in his work. We never see Razieh actually rescuing the elderly father, and we never see her actually falling down the stairs. Therefore, we as an audience don't have all the actual facts. All we have are the characters' own versions of what happened, and their motivations and reasons are fine-tuned to a perfect balance. They all seem to have sound reasons for doing what they do, even when we don't morally agree with their actions. We empathize with all of them, which gives their conflicts an even greater proportion. What Farhadi teaches us is to always clearly establish who your characters are and what they believe in. Farhadi goes on to explore further beyond the conflicts themselves and also the profound change they inflict. At the conclusion, after agreeing to pay the blood money to Razieh's family, Nader has one final condition. He summons both his daughter and Razieh and asks that the woman swears on the Quran that she thinks he's really responsible for the death of her baby. Being a devout woman, she refuses because she's in doubt, which forces her to tell her husband the truth. For Nader, it's important that his daughter knows the truth. For Razieh, the only truth that matters is the one committed to God. She no longer believes she's doing the right thing. Simin stares at Razieh while listening to her words, and Terme stares at the little girl. This is a powerful moment that lasts only a few seconds but carries the weight of the entire dramatic conclusion of the film. Both women not only recognize their own predicament, but also reach a deep understanding of its recurrence and destructiveness. The following scene shows them driving home while literally seeing the road ahead through shattered glass. By carefully solidifying each of his characters' values and giving them an equal and fair treatment, Farhadi was able to create an universal masterpiece, one that extrapolates language and cultural barriers because it remains true to the essence of humans everywhere. We all want to do what we believe is right, and sometimes our beliefs can take us too far, too late to realize we already lost what we cared about the most. Thank you for watching all the way through. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to click subscribe and like, and see you next time.